Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hi, everybody at Combat Sports UK. Taylor Collard here with Johnny Munoz, competing on May 5th at UFC 288 versus Daniel Santos. Johnny, how are you? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. And yeah, we'll fight next week and go to war. So I'm excited.
Go to war, like the attitude. We're ready to go. So how has your day been so far? Have you just on your way back from training? What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's good. I trained in the morning. Did 2 sessions in the morning already. And right now I'm just driving. I just got into California because I train in California, and also I train in Tijuana, Mexico. So right now I just left Tijuana and I'm passing through San Diego, and I'm actually headed to my home gym located in Norco, California. So I have like a little drive to go. I'm always driving, but I'm always between Tijuana and Norco, California, which is about an hour and 40 minutes the distance.
Sure, yeah. So always on the road. And how come you decide to split your camps like that? Do you spend the majority of the camp in Mexico or in the States?
Kind of both, but I think for this camp I've been more in Mexico. Like I've been there. I stood like since last week I'm there. But this week I decided to go back. I'll train a little bit tonight in California, tomorrow, Thursday morning. And I shoot back to Mexico Thursday, and I finish camp over there Friday, Saturday, and then that's it. And also I commentate for an event down there, which is this Friday, UWC Mexico. So I commentate for that event.
Okay, so you're commentating on the weekend. And how do you find the commentating gig? Are you enjoying it? How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing it about a year now. I would say a little over a year. I enjoy it, man. Like you're gonna look at fighting it from a different lens. You know what I mean? Watching the fight, trying to break it down, trying to understand who the fighters are before the fights, doing a little research. So it's pretty cool, man. I think it helps as a fighter because it makes you more okay. I gotta study this guy. I mean, you don't have to. You can be a lazy piece of shit, but I like to do my job professionally and understand who I'm talking about rather than just going out the fly. So it's cool.
Totally. So I would imagine that would relate well to kind of your next opponent, Daniel Santos. He's kind of got some wins by decision, some knockouts, a couple of submissions. How do you break down his style from that analytical point of view that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think I feel his style is very head-on, aggressive, and he's almost looking to self-destruct in there in a sense, which could be a dangerous guy, but it's also a guy that's with a good put plan. If you're a strategic fighter, it's like, to me, it's a winnable fight that there's kind of a blueprint there to win. You know what I mean? You just can't get involved in his game. You just got to outsmart him, which I believe is the key to victory. And I think it's like right there for the taking. So him being aggressive, there's a lot of openings for me to capitalize on. So he's actually going to help me out a lot by doing that. So that's what I see in him.
Sure, yeah. You mentioned that key to victory kind of being a bit more cerebral, a bit more analytical about your approach. Is that something, without obviously giving the game plan away, is that something that you focused on in camp, that more going against a more aggressive guy in terms of your training partners and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I focus on in camp. Because you always got to like study who you're fighting, know who you're fighting. And obviously you have training partners to get you ready for that specific opponent. That's what a fight camp is. You know what I mean? I'm always in the gym training, but what's different when you're not in camp and in a camp? When you're not in camp, you could try, experiment. You're doing new things. It's fun. But you're in fight camp, it's more focused on a specific individual, preparing for that guy to show up on May 6th to be the best version of yourself, and having the right training partners and people around you to prepare you so you can be successful at that event. So
Mhm.
yeah, to answer your question, that's what it's been about. Just researching him and having my opponents or my training partners give me similar looks to what he's doing.
Yeah, of course. And my apologies at the beginning. I said May 5th. It is indeed May 6th. So that's a really interesting insight into you as a professional. I think a lot of fighters sometimes will go out of camp and they'll blow up, especially at the lower weight classes, and they'll sometimes stay not away from the gym, but not take it as seriously as you do. So you see kind of that time in between specific camps as honing those tools, learning new skills. How do you go about that when you're not necessarily training for a specific fight?
Camps, you don't get better. I don't think you get better in a fight camp. Fight camp prepares you to be setting up the best version of yourself, what you've been learning, and just tone the skills down to be that best version on that specific date, on that specific opponent. But it's when you're
Mm.
not in a fight camp, you're able to get better. You're able to learn new things, new skill sets. Now those skill sets are a part of you. Now you're in a fight, you learn 5 new skill sets that you are now. But it's hard if I can't. Because there's a lot of, you know, emotion, you're thinking, you're preparing for a specific guy. Uh,
Hmm.
so that's what it's about. It's like, okay, I got to fight camp. What tools do I have? Okay, I need to use these tools for this guy. This is what I got to have. I don't have time to learn new things. Sure, they could tell you, hey, try this. But like to actually sit there and focus on learning that thing is hard.
Mm, fantastic. And that's brilliant. I think that really shows across your professional attitude and the way you look at fighting. One thing I noticed from you is in your last win, when you picked up the victory last time out, you said to DC that that you're pretty hard on yourself. You're always looking on something to improve on. So I'm quite curious about what you found in that time from the last fight that you've looked to build on in that time before this camp started.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff I was working on in between before I got the phone call for this fight, and I felt like I improved on some of those things I needed to improve on. Um, just so okay, because I always look at it when I fight. Okay, what are my opponents looking at? My future opponents, if they're watching that fight, they're gonna want to capitalize on my weaknesses that they saw. So I try to put
Yeah.
myself into my opponent's uh, lens. You know what I mean? Okay, so they're thinking this. Now I got to work on those things to clean that up. Now I don't have those mistakes. That's why, like in this fight, that's what it's about. Like not making those same mistakes and working on. Okay, what I was doing wrong in the last fight to clean it up, and I feel like I've been able to do that.
That's fantastic. And that mindset of, like you said, to DC being hard on yourself, is that something that came to you quite naturally from a young age, or is that something through your upbringing? And how has that affected you as to now as a fighter?
Yeah, I think it's something that kind of been instilled in me by my parents, my dad. My dad especially was always hard on me growing up,
Hmm.
and always wanted what was best for me. You know what I mean? So I always was striving to meet expectations, or you know what I mean, just giving it the best on whatever it is I do. So that's why like I'm always hard on myself. Anything I do, like I always got to be like the best at it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I went to college too. Like even in college, I was very competitive. I'm getting the highest grade in class, and all that stuff. And it's just you should always give it 100%. If you're doing something, give it 100%. Why not be the best at it? Because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. So why not that person be you?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very inspirational kind of mantra you have there, and a very aspirational mindset. In terms of the card and the division, we've got a massive fight at the top of the card. What are your thoughts on the division as a whole right now, and kind of where do you see yourself in the division?
Yeah, I mean, the main event, that's going to be a good fight. Uh, I'll be excited to see. And the thing, 135 is just like a very stacked division, man. There's so many fighters in there. I believe it's the hardest division in the UFC, most competitive division, and it's just
Hmm.
stacked. And I think I mentioned this to somebody, breaking like the top 10, top 15, it takes a little work because there's so many fighters in there. And especially like the top 10 guys, they don't like fighting outside of there. They're just kind of sitting in there fighting each other. And which I understand to a certain extent. But I almost feel it's safer to be in the top 10 than outside of it. Like it's so dangerous outside the top 10, even top 15, because there's so many fighters, young killers, just fighting each other, and they're all tough. At the moment you're in the top 10, it's almost somewhat safer in there because you don't have to worry about fighting these young upcoming killers. You're fighting tough guys in the top 10, no doubt, but everyone's very pick and choose on who they're fighting. And the guys outside of there, it's like they're trying to get in, and you're fighting these killers on the outside. You could be on a 2, 3, 4 fight win streak, and then you fight a killer, maybe it don't go your way, you lose, and then boom, you're starting all over again, trying to kill more killers. Instead of killing killers, boom, you're in the top 10. Now it's more narrowed down, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. And with those guys in the top 10, you secure a good victory, and it propels you quite highly because, like you said, they're also highly skilled in the division. It's a place where you can make some waves very, very quickly. So a big fight for you coming up. Overall, kind of how are your feelings? How are you feeling like it's going to go down? Do you have a little bit of a prediction for us? What are your thoughts? You said earlier you think he's aggressive and you've got some areas you think you can get to, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough opponent. Everyone in the UFC is tough. He's very aggressive. I feel he's going to have to bring more to the table than just being aggressive to beat me. I feel like I've fought aggressive opponents before, and I know I'm the more skilled fighter, and that's why I'm going to show it May 6th and capitalize on all of his mistakes and not make any mistakes. That's what I'm looking to show. And, predictions, like I see the fight going 3 different ways. I always predict 3 different ways. Because I feel as a fighter, this is the art of war. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's always different obstacles, different things that could take place. So I feel like, you can make predictions. Oh, I'm going to knock him out first round, do this. But a lot of the guys that make predictions, when things don't go their way, they seem not to even believe that no more. And you can see the look on their face. It's like that was just all talk. They didn't really believe it. So when your face expression changes, that tells you, okay, this person, what they're really made of. But I just see this, really, I'm a realistic person. I see it going 3 different ways. I always try to look at, like, okay, how does the scenario look if I win by submission? Okay, then I built that scenario in my head. Or, how could I knock this guy out? I built that scenario in my head. Okay, what if maybe I can't knock him out? I can't settle him. Okay, then I'm going to have to beat him every second of the round. I win by a decision. So I'm always, like, seeing different visions of how I could win, because I don't want to be thrown off by anything. I'm looking to sub this guy. I want to tackle him. I want to knock him out, and it doesn't happen. You see a lot of guys, they like, fuck, man, like their whole vision went to shit because this guy's still in front of them. So that's why, like, to me, it's a fight. I'm going in there to hurt this man. He's in the way of my goals, and I know he's trying to hurt me too. So fuck him. I'm trying to hurt him and put him out. I got to get home to my family.
There we go. Let's go. Awesome. Yeah, a true kind of mixed martial artist talking there, envisioning the three scenarios and trying to cover all bases. I want to swerve a little bit now to kind of your private life and you as a person. One thing that jumped out to me when I was looking at your website earlier was that you have a bachelor and master's in public health. Can you run us through that one?
Yeah, I went to college, just it was always something I was going to do, just to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And I feel like college, it helped me with discipline. It helped me deal with people from different, backgrounds, from different countries, religious backgrounds, different ideologies, political views. So I feel it helped me deal with different people who don't think like me, and just all kinds of people. So it made me allowed me to be able to communicate with those kind of people. And I went public health. I originally wanted to do nursing,
right.
But when I found out how much hours you got to put in a study, they pick your schedule. I was like, fuck all that. Like, I'm trying to train. Fighting's number one to me. But so I was like, I had to switch to a major because I was already doing the prereqs for nursing.
So I was like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
want to switch to something I could just go into. I don't want to have to take more prereqs, more classes, and then change major. Like, I don't want to waste time. So I was like, looking what I could jump into, and then they told me, oh, we could go with all the prereqs classes you've done. You can go into public health. And I was like, okay, well, that'd be kind of cool. And I remember my public health teacher, funny guy, very sarcastic, always talk shit to all the students. I was like, man, well, this job looks cool and like fun. Like I could do that job. And then so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I switched to public health. And public health's it's a very like broad term. Like there's so much into it, like nutrition, poverty, socioeconomic status, just a lot of things, disease, medicine, all that stuff. And so I did that. I got my bachelor's in that, and I was like, I might as well get my master's. Why not? And then so
Why
I did
not?
that, and yeah, why not? And after that, yeah, I'm done with the school thing. It crossed my mind to do the PhD thing, but I was like, man, I don't want to be in school another 2 years. Like, I want to just focus on fighting, which I was still training and doing all that stuff, but school takes a toll on you. Like, there's a lot of, it's very mental. It's mentally draining. You got to do this
Mm-hmm.
paper. You got to write this. It's just very time consuming. So I was like, well, I want to cut that out, even though I was training. But I feel like if I could devote those hours in school, now I could devote it more to here, and I feel like I'll grow more as a fighter.
Yeah, for sure. And I think definitely when you decide to hang the gloves up, I'll hopefully be talking to a Dr. Munoz in the future. That would be really awesome. Do you think it's
That
something you
would
would
be cool,
pursue
right?
after your career? Go for the PhD?
It's possible. I never say no to anything. Things could always change. I never thought I'd get my master's degree. That was never
Yeah.
in my plan. My plan was just to get a bachelor's degree, but then I decided to get my master's degree. So, things could always change uh, after you're done fighting. I know, after fighting a lot, I think a lot of fighters gonna get bored because this is all they know. So,
Hmm.
that might be an outlet for me. Even though I have things I would like to do more after fighting. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to think about retirement yet, but it's going to be kind of
No.
weird not fighting after when I'm not doing that. So maybe I could do all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And it jumps out when your social media, you're doing watch alongs, you've got some merchandise going on your website. So you're definitely somebody who's trying to branch out and trying to get yourself the different looks, both in the octagon and outside of the octagon. So I'd just like to finish up with kind of the last part that you put on your website is kind of a little bit of a dedication to your parents. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear kind of the inspiration that they've given you and how they've supported you on this journey. Because I thought that was a really lovely touch just on the end of your little bio there on the website.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, they were always very supportive of me. Uh, they really taught me a lot. And like I said, my mom was more like loving. My dad was very like tough and hard on me. But it was good. I think because when I see today, like kids are just like, I don't know, kids are like fucking brats, man. Like they're like they're running the show. Their parents like, oh well, if you don't want to do this, then that's fine. Like it's like you're letting your kid run the whole show. I just see the way these kids grow up, what they grow up to be, and I'm like, man, like these kids are like quitters, like they're soft. And I just look at the way I was raised up, and my dad. And if you grew up soft and not with tough love, you ain't gonna be ready for what's to come when you become an adult. But I feel like my parents always instilled things like that. I see my dad was always working hard growing up. Uh, I seen him like progress through life, from not having a lot to like, having more, being more and being successful. So I was able to see that growing up. So I was always like an inspiration. It wasn't just my dad like instilling this stuff in me. He told me this stuff, but I was able to watch him do it. So it wasn't like he was just a guy, one of those dads that just drinks beer, sits on the couch, trying to give life lessons to the son, but he's not following those footsteps. My dad always
Mm.
practiced what he preached. And, and then my mom was always there, like supporting my dad. Or I think I really got a good example, like what a good relationship was growing up as well. So I feel like seeing all that stuff, if I have kids one day, like I want to be able to instill those same beliefs, but obviously make it better. So I always feel like future generations, you should always do what worked for you, but make it better. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's again another very inspiring message from you there, Johnny. Have you got any final words to say before we wrap up? Before your fight in the coming weeks.
I just appreciate everyone's support, around the world, like in Europe too. I would love to visit Europe one day, just all over UK, wherever, Spain, Germany. It would be cool to visit that side of the world. And I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. And then don't miss my fight May 6th. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a great card. I'm looking to steal the show May 6th and keep climbing up. I'm going to be the best fighter in the world. So May 6th, just another step towards that goal.
Awesome. We love it. Thank you very much on behalf of everyone, Combat Sports UK. Johnny Munoz, May 6th, UFC 288 against Daniel Santos. We wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your time today, buddy.